Well, hello and welcome to today's Ignition webinar. The Relive mission, of course, is to nourish the world in mind, body and spirit, and we continue to do that throughout the Asia Pacific region. And our 3-year vision for the region is to reach $1 million in US dollars sales per month, and we're well and truly on our way to achieving that. Our top priorities continue to be to increase our key performance indicators, to develop our brand awareness, to enhance our social media strategy, increase online capabilities, and of course, get everyone's focus on getting to Master Affiliate, through Master Affiliate, and to the Director level where you're really starting to build a business. This week, we're going to be talking about sponsoring distributors, and I'm Bernie Birch, the Asia Pacific Sales Manager for Relive. There's 7 steps in this process, as you can see there, and what we're going to do is go through each one of these steps one by one. This is an overview, a brief overview, and of course we'll be putting together a training that puts this into much more detail. Firstly, with planning and preparation, it's important that you do know your product features and benefits, but you don't need to know everything. All you need really is to know the top 2 features and benefits of each of the products that you focus on. And remember, it is much easier if you focus on 1 or 2 products, or in the case of some markets where they are driving a 3-product pack, but that in itself is looking a focus of one thing, which is a pack. And in Australia, for instance, they have what they call the Vitality Pack, which is now Energize and Fiber Store. And in the Philippines, they're driving the Dynamic Duo, which of course is now and LunarRich X, and so forth. But the point is to focus. Don't spread yourself far and wide. Focus on what you can become good at that, and once people are on board, then you can actually expand them to what they're doing as far as products go. As far as the business goes, of course, you're focusing on the benefits coming to people by getting into the business, and that comes down to what they want and what they need in their lives, and we'll talk about that in a moment. It's important when you're planning that you prepare your opening statements. Practice what it is you want to say in that initial contact. Don't suddenly go dumb because you don't know what it is. We've talked many times about your story, and this is a perfect place for either your elevator story or your 1 to 2 minute story. Know what you're going to say to someone before you actually instigate the contact. Really important. And of course, practice your presentation. We've got a presentation booklet. Use the booklet. Download the presentation from online. If you use a computer, a laptop, an iPad, a tablet, whatever, smartphone, download the presentation. Practice it at home. Practice it with your group. Get better with it. Get into a flow with it so that you actually know what you're about to say. And depending on questions people ask, if you practiced your presentation, you can actually move the presentation in the direction that you need to whilst still following the structure. In the opening, it's important that you smile, be professional. And let me tell you something, when you smile, it really does break down those initial barriers, particularly if it's with a stranger. But a smile is an amazing tool, and it is contagious. It is infectious. You smile and the people just feel like smiling back. Introduce yourself. This sounds really basic, I know, but introduce yourself and what you do. What is it that you do? How do you describe what you do as a distributor? How do you describe the business that you're building? Think about what it is that you do and know what it is that you want to say. And be brief and specific. So important. Be brief. Don't go into this ramble. You'll lose people. People's attention spans are short. You need to get to the person and explain to them why you're actually talking to them. That is so important. They need to know what's the purpose of you actually speaking with them. This is another thing that's very important, and I know a lot of people struggle with this. Agree on the length of the meeting. Now, if you've made an appointment with someone and you sat down and you're about to go through the presentation with them, agree on the length of time, be it 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is. It's really important because people want to know how much of their time you're going to take. It also sets up trust. And let me tell you something, stick to that duration of the meeting that you've agreed to. If you find that you're going to go over, make sure that you know that at least 5 minutes before the end of the time. Keep track of the time and ask the person, is it okay to go over by whatever time it is, but don't be more than 5 minutes. And if they say yes, then you make sure that you finish at that 5 minutes. Whatever you have to do, finish on time. It is really important. It shows professionalism. It builds trust. And remember, you'll lose people because they will start looking at their watch if they think this is going too long. Questioning is so important. The objective is to identify your prospects' needs. It's all about discovering people's hot buttons, and you've got to watch for it when you're talking to them. People will tell you their hot buttons if you ask enough questions. Sometimes people don't realize what their own hot buttons are. But if you ask questions, they'll start talking to you, and it also builds rapport and trust, okay? It shows that you actually have an interest in them. It's important that that comes across from a point of integrity. That is really important, because one of the things that you want to make sure that you do is ensure that people are feeling good, feeling comfortable, and making sure that they want to spend their time with you. Excuse me, I've just had a slight glitch in the program here. Will I just fix this back up? Bear with me. Okay. And the important thing is to use open questions. That's what, when, how. Because what happens is it means people have to have descriptive answers. It gets them talking. It gets them into conversation. And that's what you want. You want people to start talking, because the more relaxed they come, the more they start to talk, the more information they'll give you. And if you listen really well, you will hear what their hot buttons are, and they will tell you all the information that you need to know. Okay, when you're qualifying and confirming, though, you need to use what's called a closed question. That is yes or no answers. It's like, is that correct? Now, didn't you say that you were interested in taking nutritional supplements? Aren't you interested in earning some extra money? Didn't you say that you could really do with an extra $300 a month, 2,000 pesos a month? The answer is yes or no. It's a closed question. But it also, what it does, it allows you to assess if you're heading in the right direction. And that's really important. It's part of monitoring. So just remember, the questioning is an essential part of a facilitator process whose purpose is to help the buyer decide. I'll just say that again. Questioning is an essential part of a facilitative process whose purpose is to help the buyer decide. That means that you're not pushing people. What it means is that you're giving them information. It's a flow. You're facilitating. You are working all the information like kneading a dough for a bread. And the purpose, of course, is to help them decide. So you're actually working the process with them to let them make the decision. Now, when you do the presentation, focus on the central perceived benefit. And if you've asked the right questions, if you've asked enough questions, you'll actually know what that is, what the perceived benefit is. Now, it may not necessarily be the number one benefit that you see, but it's what their perceived benefit is. And remember, perception is reality in the person who's perceiving it. And you need to match the benefits of the business, the benefits of all the things you've talked about, with their established needs. And again, it's through the questioning process that you find out what this is. Now remember, when you're presenting, be structured, clear, and concise. Now if you make mistakes, like on this presentation today, there's been a couple of mistakes, but you just keep going. Don't worry about it. And particularly if you're talking to a new person and you're presenting the compensation plan, you're presenting the business presentation, you make a mistake, it doesn't matter, because they don't know you made a mistake, because they've never seen this before. And the best thing you can do, as I've already said, is just practice, practice, practice. Keep practicing it until it becomes instinctive for you. Keep practicing it until you can actually do it without having to have the booklet or the slides in front of you. Everyone's going to have objections. Be wary of the person who doesn't. I'm talking about people looking to get into the business. I'm not talking about people buying product. Yes, that will be a case too, but when you're looking for distributors, when you're talking to prospects about getting into the business, be aware of people who have no objections. Generally speaking, if people keep saying yes or say nothing, they'll say a big no at the end. I know that's a generalization, but let me tell you, it's quite often the truth. But you need to qualify the whole time. You need to repeat back to the person what they actually said. And you just keep probing all the time because you want to find whatever objections they've got. They're questions. They're actually buying questions. They're buying signs. They're a request for more information. You need to flush them all out because it's important for them to make a decision that they've got them all out. And don't ever argue with somebody. If you don't like what they said or they make a statement that's inaccurate, don't argue with them. Just highlight the benefits of our opportunity or the products or whatever it is you're actually speaking to them about, okay? But remember, always look for those buying signals. How much does it cost? It's a big one. Now, some people will say, oh, people just ask that because they don't want to purchase it because they don't think they've got enough money. If someone wasn't interested, they wouldn't ask how much it costs. Does it take long for products to be delivered? That's a buying sign. Okay, when you're closing the sale, when you're closing the person, the best close is no need to close. What that means is that you've given them so much information, you've given the right amount of information, you've asked a lot of questions, and that's why you've been able to give them the relevant information. And all you need to do is say, okay, and this is one of my favorites, if you're going to do it with an application form and write on with a pen, or whether you've got them online in front of you, just say, okay, so how do we spell your name? And if they start spelling their name, you've just closed them, fill out the application form, move on. And just simply ask for the sale. Don't get fooled by early yeses. I've already spoken about that because everyone has a no in them. Also remember, you can use an alternate close. I've used a product one here where we can get you started with Now and Energize or Now and Fiber Store, or we can get you on the Vitality Pack. An alternate close is we can actually get you started with a we can get you started with a Vitality Pack, or what's an even better alternative is that we could get you started with a fast start right now. That's an alternate close for the business, for the distributor. Always set your next appointment before you leave. Always set your next appointment before you leave. And just one more point on that, always set your next appointment before you leave. Qualify at every meeting because no is better than wasted time. How many times, and I'll bet people listening to this have had that happen where they followed people up, and the people are just, they're saying certain things, they're putting you off. Just push for a qualification. Get a no if that's what they've got. Some people are scared to say no. Get your no so you can move on to the next person so you're not wasting your time. We all know about follow-up and how important it is, and this is such a place where people fall over. Because when you follow up, it gives you an opportunity to probe. People often don't follow up because they're worried someone's going to give them a problem. Well, see them as an opportunity, because if someone's having an issue with the product, or someone's having an issue with delivery, or you use that as an opportunity to guide them in the right direction. You have to take responsibility for your new person because they're like babies. They're like children, and it's up to us to direct them. So when you sponsor someone, you get to work with them. And those first 90 days with the new distributor is absolutely important because all that work shows your integrity and does lead to repeat sales. Okay, so just to wrap up, it's about understanding the process, know what the process is, and then it makes it easier for you. Analyze your performance so that you can see where you're doing well or where maybe you're not. Adjust accordingly, and never be afraid to have another go if it didn't work out the first time. Remember that this process is just a journey, and you're guiding your guest along the path to success. And if you remember that, and you remember that our opportunity and our amazing products put together, we're offering people hope, and that's what we're really offering them. And if you know that in your heart, then you're not going to have a challenge because you'll know that you're taking people towards success and a better quality of life. So thanks for listening to this webinar on sponsoring distributors this week. I want to remind everyone that we're in the qualification period for all the Relive Asia Pacific countries for our 2014 Relive Leadership Camps. So make sure that you know what criteria, the qualification criteria are for your market, and get working at it and get together as a team with your organisation to make sure that you're at the leadership camp in your market. Each week's webinar is advised by email and Facebook every Monday, and I look forward to seeing you again. And remember, get out there and ignite your business, sponsor, promote, and advance. And thank you all